evening. It is Thursday, October 24th, 2024, 7 p.m. And this is a meeting of the Bolton Select Board. The first item on our agenda is to consider a request from Bolton Youth Lacrosse regarding hanging banners, including sponsored banners along the fences at Tower Field on Main Street. So I believe that we have somebody here to kind of present the proposal and walk us through everything. So I would invite you to just identify yourself and lead us through your thoughts.
Sure. Hi, my name is Nate Shippey. I'm the Vice President of Neshoba Youth Lacrosse. Yes, we would like to ask the board for permission to hang banners at Tower Field. There is the banners we hang, or we hung before at, I think it's called the Pond Park, right outside Mechanic Street. It's the banner that announces that our registration is open. We were hoping we could hang that maybe on the fence that runs parallel to 117. And then the second ask, 2019, here we are in August of 2003. Here's the fencing that we put up. And here is this was an existing fence that just recently came down. But the ask is if we could hang our banner that we use in the month of August and again in November to announce that registration is open. And then this fence is where we would be looking to hang the sponsorship banners. And the idea is we'd want to mimic what baseball does over at the baseball fields for these type of banners.
Got it. Thank you. The images are helpful. I'd first like to open it up to see whether members of the select board have questions.
In general, I'm fine with the ask. I would assume that these are going to be in addition to your sign, these will be legitimate businesses, in or in neighboring towns of to Bolton.
Yes, even tonight we had a parent ask about it. So probably our first source of banners would probably be members of our lacrosse community.
What kind? Well, if it's not a business, what do you mean a member of?
Oh no, this member of the community, he owns a business. He lives in Bolton.
Okay.
He owns a business. Yes.
Cool. Okay. Cool. It's a fine idea. I'm okay with it.
How many sponsorship signs do you anticipate on that?
Our team 6 panel over there. So if you did one on each side, it was 26.
And you don't anticipate any of the signs facing on 117 other than the recruitment banner, is that right?
Yeah, that's the ask today.
Okay.
I had just a couple of quick questions on the timing. So I hear you said the banner that would be parallel 117 be up for a few weeks at registrations in the spring fall.
Correct. We open fall ball registration in August. And then again, we'll be opening registration for the spring here in November.
Okay. And then what about the sponsor banners? Would those be up for the seasons or all year or what? What's your thought there?
Imagine they'd be up all year. What do they do at the baseball fields?
I actually don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah, whatever's allowed at the baseball field.
Okay. Yeah, I'm fine. I think whatever if we allow it for the full year at the baseball field, it makes sense to allow the same thing here. So I'm cool with this as well. So sorry, go ahead, Kate.
Yeah, one more question, which is, would there be size restrictions or uniformity with regard to the business banners?
I believe Jenny sent me there's a rule or regulation in town that states the size the banners could be. So we would stay within the bounds of that. And for looks, you'd probably keep them all the same size.
That was just kind of my concern, is I think that on the baseball fields, it looks nice in uniform and it just has a nice appearance,
Mm.
and, you know, I sort of want it to be the same here.
Okay.
I think you can stop sharing your screen. Thank you. Um, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the request from Bolton Youth Lacrosse to hang banners, including sponsored banners along the fence along Tower Field on Main Street as shown in the presentation.
Second that.
Okay, roll call. Stan,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
and I'm also a yes. Thanks, Mr. Shippey.
Thank you.
Thank
Care.
you.
Good night.
Right.
Okay. Next on our agenda, we are going to consider a request from Parks and Recreation regarding installation of a natural playground at the town common. See, we have Erica Mond available on the phone, and I think Lisa Sheppel is also here. I don't know who's going to lead us through the proposal. Oh, Erica, is that you?
Yes, hi.
Hi. Great, thank you.
Are we waiting for
actually,
anybody else
sorry.
or are we good? Sorry.
Lisa is here, and then I guess I just had one logistical question for the group. If there are graphics that you want to be shown, I don't know if Jenny, you're going to screen share or if somebody else needs the ability to do that.
Jenny has the
I
the
think I-
Handout?
documents, and I have Liz Shepke here too. She's been with, she started with Bolton Conservation Trust, and she's involved with the natural playground as well.
Okay, so you just tell me who's going to lead us through the request, and then I'll turn things over to that person.
I think I may speak, but I encourage anyone to chime in or correct or stop or, interject basically.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Is Liz here? Is she here yet?
Yep.
Yes, okay, great. Okay, so this is really just a touch base, FYI, because since we talked about this last, we have 2 new members, which we're very happy about. And so this is a project that has been for many years kind of sleepy for many different reasons. So we just figured that we would go through it, see if there's any questions, because it's one of these projects that when an opportunity arises to get some work done, we would like to move on it. For instance, we recently had access to trees. We thought we would have it, and that sort of fell through. So it's really like a hit and miss of when we can get volunteers, when we get the wood, when we can get the equipment, and we just want to be able to move forward without anyone being nervous about it. So if you can see the list, there are small pictures beside all the numbered descriptions, and I'll just quickly verbally go through it. It consists of a spider web, a vertical climb, and a bunch of different wood features. And the wood features, if we get the amount of wood donated, then we'll do as much as we plan here. But if we only get a small amount, then we'll pick and choose to see what wood best fits that feature and then put it there. There's also some elements that would go in before others. So for instance, we had a plan for a slide that was located in the back of the property. So just to clear, this is at the town common. It's to the right of the pavilion. There's 2 wooded areas, that one is very cleared and one knotweed is trying to claim back that we keep fighting. But it's really behind the porta potty and to the right of the pavilion. Those are the 2 areas. And then there is a smallish area back up in the woods, which is a clearing that we had plans for a free building of a fort with just wood. So it's essentially a description or plaque for kids to discover, and then pieces of wood that they would build their own forts and then just leave there as is. So that's the only thing that's kind of out of sight from the parking lot. Everything else is more towards the parking lot. And if on the left side would be the cargo nets. Now, originally, this was a robotics team. It was my fifth grade son's robotics project that got the spider web approved. He's now a sophomore in high school. So the problem, the holdup with that spider web net is that since the years went by and COVID happened, that we've lost contact with the person that does custom work like that. So we're still going to try and go forward with it and find somebody, but that may be a dead issue. But we do have the vertical cargo net, and that is on the diagram of where that would go, which would be mostly beside it. And that would, just as it says, it goes up vertically.
Can I,
And,
can I just
sorry.
interrupt with one quick
Yes,
question? Because
sure.
I'm wanting to understand visually. So we got a map in our packets, and I just want to make sure I'm reading it correctly.
Okay,
There's like a fort area, perfect. Fort area 1, fort area 2. The path in the middle, that's the trail, right?
yes.
Okay, got it. I just wanted to make sure that that's what that was. So that's the
So,
like wood chip trail right now that kind of leads up the hill.
yes. So the area on the right is behind the porta potty,
Yep, okay.
for lack of other visual. And the one on the left is really right next to the pavilion. And there's
Yeah.
some rocks before it. So in the past, the criteria to move forward with this was to have essentially a play at your own risk sign, which was said very eloquently, which we do have up and has been up for a bit. And also to check in on the town insurance, which we did, and we have it. And Marie, let me know if I'm saying this incorrectly, says it's okay. So this is what we're hoping to do. So we have some other things that we've already gotten, like some faces to put on the trees that are more decorative. Do you want me to go through the individual diagrams to explain what they are? Do you have any questions so far?
No, actually, what I would like to do though is just in the interest of time, I know everybody got images in their packets, so I guess what I would say, I would turn to the rest of the board members and see whether there were specific aspects of what was in the packets that you had questions about.
Do you also have the description with the actual photos, with photo samples? Yes, that,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
Sorry, was that a question for me or somebody else?
I was going to ask whether the board had any specific questions that they wanted to make sure they heard answers to.
Okay,
Well, actually, a couple of things. Erica did remind us, some years ago, there was a proposal put forth for, I guess, the spider web, to be installed. And what was installed was very much and completely different than what was proposed. I guess it's probably more along the lines of the vertical cargo climb. And for a variety of reasons, including safety, that was taken down. I recall at least a discussion that I had years ago with Don Lowe about that. But in looking at this seems to be somewhat similar to what Park and Rec had discussed with us some years ago. And I don't recall, but I believe we did have some questions regarding safety, especially with the log stump feature and the log cluster and a few other things. I guess maybe I'd have to go back and look to see when that meeting occurred and the questions we had at the time, but this looks very similar to what was presented a number of years ago, and I know there were questions primarily in the area of concerning safety and whatnot. So I don't know if in the subsequent years those questions about safety have been addressed or not. So yeah, I'd be interested to hear from you folks, because this looks pretty much what was proposed some time ago.
you're correct. This is exactly the same as what was proposed a long time ago. And the only safety issues were that we didn't have a sign up for liability, which we did since then. And we were checking on insurance, which we did. So those were the only safety issues. The main concern, I believe, what you guys had was that the cargo net didn't match the spider web that you approved at the time. And that was an attempt to that square cargo net. I think it was a little bit of a miscommunication, but that was meant to be the spider web and to be, I'm even losing control because it is on the original plans, that cargo net. So it was just more of the spider web was approved by the robotics team and that didn't go up, the cargo net did. So then since we didn't have a sign up and we didn't have the verdict on the insurance, then the cargo net was brought down. But there was no safety issue as in something bad happened. It was just
No, I
we
didn't,
didn't have those two things.
I didn't say that, but
Okay.
what Park and Rec came to the board for approval for the spider web. But what went up was the vertical cargo climb, and actually, I think it was constructed between two trees. So what we approved and what went up were two different things, and I think this came after that some years ago.
You mean the cargo net came after this, you said?
No. Park and Rec came in along with, I think, the robotics club for approval to put up the spider web. And
Yes.
that was approved.
Yes.
Went up was something more akin to the vertical cargo climb long before any of this was presented to the board. And that vertical cargo climb was taken down because of safety, not just because of the sign, but because of also of safety. So I'm just recalling what had taken place prior. And then you folks came in with this proposal some number of years ago, and I'll have to go back and look. I mean, there were some questions concerning safety, which I will have to go back and look at the minutes to understand what they exactly were.
Let me ask a quick question. Can you scroll back up to the diagram? Yeah, great. So just for my own sake, I want to be really clear. What we're seeing in this diagram is what, like 100% reflection of what you expect to install if we approve tonight? This is exactly the plan.
This is what we would like to do. And there's a lot of moving parts, which is supplies, cost,
Yep.
physical power.
Yep.
So we have all those obstacles. Going back to the last time that we met on this whole thing was put in front of the select board exactly as is forever ago. I'm not really quite sure the date. And a general census was, it looks great. We just need to figure out the safety issues with insurance and liability. And we want to put a sign up and check with the insurance. At that meeting, it was unfortunate, but Don last minute could not make it. So we didn't get his buy-in at the meeting with the other select board members. So it wasn't this clean cut, okay, we're here, we're good, bye. It was, we have to get Don in on this.
Yep. No, sorry.
Yeah, okay.
Just let me interrupt. I apologize. So I will just say, like, I think this looks great. I think that the sign and the insurance investigation I'm glad that that was done. I don't see any elements of this that create any different safety risks than any of the existing playground features at like the school, at least not to my eye. But what I want to make sure of is, like, I can understand depending on funding, you may not ultimately do everything that's here, but there's not something that you would do that isn't already an option on this plan, right? Like we see
Correct.
maybe 10 different things. There's not like some 11th thing that you would say, oh, well, we're going to do this because we have the resources. It'll be
Correct.
okay.
I would think I'm just going over this myself. The only thing that's not on that diagram right there is that fort that I mentioned in the backwoods.
Yep, it's
Yeah,
there. It's in
but
the
I
back.
do have it on number 9. I just don't have it on this diagram that's being presented, you know, the hand-drawn diagram. It's not on the map here, but it is on our description and our photos in this packet.
Got it. Thank you. Kate?
Yeah, I had a question. Who's actually doing the construction to erect these? And is it somebody who's experienced with putting these sorts of structures together so we know that they're being built safely?
Well, that's the issue, the TBD. As we get availability in people, we thought we had the wood and the equipment and the knowledge of from that the store right there in the corner. Lisa, what's the builders and the name of that store that's getting redone off the common?
The chocolate and the
The
chocolate
old
shop
barn,
Whistle
when they
Shop.
took down.
and the barn, right, took down.
Yeah. So those people with their equipment, we were in communication with them and the understanding that we were going to get the wood of that was being with those trees that were approved to be taken down. They were supposed to come to the commission. We were on site for 3 hours talking to them and their foreman. We said, great, we're going to get the trees. We even went as far as approaching them to hire them to place it with their equipment. And then they said, we're all set, great. You don't have to stay here for the next 3 hours as we clean up. And we said, okay, and then crickets. So, you know, when the opportunity arises like that, which is unique, we want to be able to move forward.
Yeah, I guess my question was what company is going to do the physical installation of the equipment? Because I don't know, but I'm assuming there are safety standards that need to go into installing playgrounds for kids. And I would just want to make sure that whoever is being used is a reputable company who has experience in physically installing playgrounds. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. The unique factor of a natural playground is it's not cut and dry. And I think that's what the disconnect was years ago between the Conservation Commission and why it wasn't done before we inherited the property. There was not an agreement. The town voted for it to be a natural playground, and the other people wanted it to be a metal playground with playground inspectors. So playground inspectors do not exist for natural playground. So we're in this in-between stage of that. You know, these aren't swings and stuff. So we had a professional install the cargo net who was a tree arborist and it was safe. And then that came down and then we lost that person. We thought we had these tree people to do the log cluster placement, and we seem to, we need to reinvestigate that. So there is no one company that we have hired, essentially, because we can't afford it. It's typically in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, which we do not, that budget was never created for a natural playground that the town agreed to. I think it's like 20,000 or something they fundraised for, and that we have access to through the Conservation Trust. But beyond that, most of this is volunteer based in a sense, but the equipment we buy has all their safety regulations. So, you know, if we get the spider web made, they're regulated, they're safe, and it's a matter of clipping it into the tree. And we had the correct bolts installed, and the bolts, you know, and the guarantee that the bolts, as they get installed, actually get stronger with time as the tree grabs more and more onto it. So that's what we're working with here.
Yeah, I really don't mean to be negative because I do think we need a playground. I think the natural playground is a great idea. My concern is that some of these, I mean, I'm looking specifically at the log climb, which is going to be a crisscross pattern of heavy logs. If those aren't placed well and carefully and professionally and safely, I don't want that liability on the town. I don't want that, you know, injury happening to a kid. So my concern, you know, I don't have any problem with the playground at all. I'd like to see it, but I want to make sure that it moves forward safely.
Right, we all agree that we want it to be safe for kids, because it is kids, nobody wants to hurt kids. So we do have the commission overlooking it and the experts that we get available at the time.
We seem to be in an impasse of presenting a plan and trying to find people to come to install it. And they say, okay, we're going to install this right now. Well, gee, we're sorry. We better run to our selectmen and see if that's okay. All right. So we're just sort of trapped. Seems like a great idea. We go to places like Drumlin Farms, which should be kid safe. They have a nice log walk, just like Lincoln Logs. One log, and then another one notches into it and crosses it. And the kids are, 18 inches across above the ground. And then they step onto another log that's 12 inches above the ground. And it's just very simple play. The dilemma is these so-called professional installers have their own plastic and metal, very expensive stuff, and they want to install that. They're not interested in a natural playground, and yet we see them at places like Drumlin Farms. I've seen some on TV. There's a school in Millbury that has it, and I've chased that all the way up to Reading and back, trying to find, installers. And we kind of keep running into this dead end, if you will, that is the plan approved? Well, no, not until we find the installer, and the installer is kind of going, well, what are you going to do? So I don't know how we proceed with this. It's puzzling in that there are natural playgrounds all around. We've called and we can't seem to really nail anything down. Each case seems to be something unique. And yet the whole point is to avoid expensive costs by using just natural stump logs that kids can walk on and jump from, 6 inches to 12 inches to 18 down to 12
So
with natural materials.
sorry, I'm just gonna have to jump in here. One point of order is that because we're on Zoom and not everybody's on the screen,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to ask that everybody identify who they are when they start speaking. I know that was you, Ed, but you just have to make sure you say this is Ed Sterling, a
Okay,
member.
sure.
But
Thank
then the other point, though, is that I'm just going to try to summarize what I think is a general point of agreement, and people can speak up if they disagree. I think there may be agreement that this plan, like the concepts in the plan, the elements, all of that, are approved in principle, but we do. So I don't know if that helps in your conversations, but I will say I don't want I don't want these elements installed by somebody that hasn't installed natural playground elements before or knows what it takes, because I would assume, I mean, I've been to Drumlin before, like whoever did that knew what they were doing, and we just need to rest assured that whoever you find to install, whether it be the spider web or the log climb, has expertise in that. They don't have to be a plastic and metal playground installer, but I don't want it to just be somebody who's like, well, I think I know generally about wood supply, so I can do this.
Okay. I guess I mean, sort of cynically, we're looking for somebody that we can sue. I mean, that seems to be the impression that the commission has been left with. We're looking for somebody that we can sue the minute that somebody thinks there's something unsafe and there's an injury.
No, I
And
don't think.
we're
Let me
looking
just-
for
no,
some
that's-
examples that kids are getting hurt. We can't find anything like that. Who's
that's-
going to get hurt by jumping from, one little stump to another? Kids can get hurt on anything. They can get hit by baseball bats and soccer balls. So it just feels as if we're overdoing this safety issue, despite all our efforts to put in, 24 inches of mulch to make the area safe for the kids if anybody falls over backwards.
Well, sorry, go ahead, Kate.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I mean, I'm looking, if we can look at the pictures that are a little bit further down. For number 9, the log stump feature, the picture 2 pages down, I don't have a problem with that going in today. I don't think, looking at it, it doesn't look like that's rocket science to install. Jumping, from different heights, I understand that, that's not a problem. But I'm looking at number 4, which is the log climb, and the pictures that are right below it are of intricately placed, very large logs that are interlocking. And if they're not built properly, it's not a matter of liability and who we're going to sue. That's the secondary issue. The primary issue is a kid's going to get hurt if these logs aren't stacked by somebody who knows what they're doing. And, you know,
Fair enough.
Well, it was under my impression that the wood that we were looking to do those log cluster crisscross are so big and heavy that if you put hundreds of pounds on it, it's not going to move. So, you know, we wouldn't let them place something and walk away saying, oh, this is moving. There's that element because we don't know what the wood's going to look like when it comes over. We don't know what sizes, but if it's too small, too frail, we're not going to use it. And the natural playground inspectors just don't exist. And I was under the assumption that if we post a sign that we, as we were told, play at your own risk, and that these are natural play areas for kids to explore, and also that we have insurance, that we're good to go. If anybody would like to come down and take a look, I mean, that's definitely great. We keep maintaining to stay at this impasse where we have only so many funds put aside for this. It was asked by the town. We're trying to give the town what it originally wanted and what they fundraised for. And we can't seem to get around this playground inspector or this guarantee from a phantom person who has done this a million times, because it hasn't been done a million times. That's what we're trying. We can't find. So we're just trying to move forward.
This is Stan. I certainly understand, but all due respect, the last time we saw this was years ago, and you're coming back to us tonight.
Yes.
So I'm not sure what the so-called impasse that you're describing. It's certainly not on the part of the Board of Selectmen. Since you know, I haven't seen this diagram for years. So it's certainly nothing that I think we've been holding up. But I think some of my colleagues have asked some legitimate questions concerning this. And you know, if you want to take an approach to do sort of a staggered install, you know, I would suggest not trying to do. It sounds like you're having difficulty finding people to do the work. You're having difficulty finding the materials or trying to get donations of materials. Pick something out of this list of 9 or 12 or whatever it is, and start with that. I don't know if you're attempting to get it all done at the same time, or whether taking a more staggered approach to getting, you know, something installed and then move on to the next item. And then maybe as you get things moving forward, some folks might come forward, or you know, someone might want to donate something or give some of their time.
My personal view is this is a one at a time thing. We take one step at a time. We find one item here that we think we can manage, and we go with that. And then we move on to the next thing that we can either afford or obtain and do that thing. We don't have the money. We don't have the people to do the entire thing. It'd be $1 million.
Okay. Well, that's great.
All right.
So of what we're looking at tonight, what would you folks like to do first?
Let's say the spider web or the vertical climbing net. All right. And then if I understand it, what I'll call the impasse is you folks want somebody's name who's going to install it. And as I say cynically, if anything happens, we're going back to that person to say you didn't install it correctly. Is that a fair way to look at this? This is what the impasse is?
Not at all.
All right.
Not at all. You know, I certainly wouldn't want my mother to do the installation because she has no skill or anything in regard to that.
Right.
No disrespect to her.
Indeed.
But you know, if you're going to have somebody do it, at least have some sense of they're doing.
I'm concur with you.
Okay,
that's what we call this professional installation.
Right, so I mean, so no one's looking at, oh, well, let's find somebody who, if something goes wrong and the kid slips and falls, we have a name that we can,
Let's be honest,
uh,
that's what we would do. Unfortunately, that's what the insurance would do. Who was this guy? Is he certified? Well, how do they know how to put that up that way? Gee, that looks faulty. I think it wasn't done right. So this is, I guess, where we are trying to find somebody, step one, who we think is certified, experienced, a name to, that can be referred to, references, and find that person wherever they are. And hopefully that satisfies you folks and we move forward on that one step.
All right.
Is that the
I'm
way
just
to talk
gonna-
about it?
Excuse me. I'm just going to have to jump in here with a comment.
Sure.
First of all, I don't think any of the concerns being expressed here tonight are cynical or in bad faith. And I'm just going to tell you from my frame of mind where I'm coming from. If I go to Florence Sawyer and I see the playground there is a spider web structure. It's not part of a natural playground, but it is a spider web structure that presumably was installed by a company that knows how to do it. And so,
Yes.
yeah, like kids are climbing it, some kids might fall, but we at least know that it was installed in a proper way where the structure itself isn't going to give way. Now, I'm not looking for a name so that we can sue them if things go wrong. I just want to know that the person that's doing the work has done that thing before successfully, right? Like, I think that's really important to know that it's not just, well, we're just going to improvise this spider web structure and hope for the best. Like, I would like to know that it's actually been done successfully. There's some level of experience, and it really isn't about having a name to sue. It's about having some assurance that it has succeeded before in the past. That's my perspective. Now, I'm not seeing like the hand raise function, but I got a message that I think maybe Marie was trying to raise her hand at one point, so I would like to
I've
recognize her.
succeeded in raising my hand. I wanted to add, as Erica had mentioned, I had likewise spoken with my agent, who is also a certified playground inspector. She had agreed that as presented, that this was fine, so long as we also have the appropriate signage. But I wonder if a middle course that could work, since it sounds like this is going to be built in stages, would be to have our Maya rep come out and inspect each component as it's completed.
Sure. I'm sorry, it's Ed Sterling. Who's the person? I'm sorry.
It's Maureen Montanus, who is our Maya liability rep.
Okay. That
I know
sounds
that
encouraging.
Erica and I believe Lisa have interacted with her, and I too had reached out just to confirm what is being presented is okay. So
All right. Thank you.
deferring to the board, but perhaps as a middle course of action through this incremental approach.
Yeah.
And it sounds like references and referrals would be another key solution. That if there were references and referrals to other situations to offer to your board, this would help, shall we say, unlock the concerns.
Yeah.
I can express again what my concerns are. I don't know about playground builds, but there are people who are licensed and insured to do those things because they're experts at it, or it's what they do for a living, or it's some component of what they do for a living. I mean, it may be that, a lot of contractors are capable of installing the spider web or the vertical cargo climb. But by the same token, I don't think you need an expert to install the stump checkers. You need a stump and a checkered board layout. There's some of this stuff that, as I'm looking at it, doesn't require any level of skill to install. And my preference would be to see that go forward first, so we've got some stuff there as we, work on figuring out who can do the safe installation of some of the more complicated items.
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess, today is October 24th. I think the message that hopefully you're taking away is that there is interest, I think, from everybody on this board in moving forward. I'd also just like to point out that most of us we're not even on the board the first time these plans were ever shared. So, we're seeing this for the first time tonight, and I would just ask for a little bit of patience as we try to wrap our minds around it. I do think we want to find a solution that's safe for everybody. And I would suggest that, yeah, we can move forward with the elements that don't seem to require any special installation knowledge. And I would encourage Parks and Rec to keep Marie informed as soon as they can about opportunities to install other things, and we can just tee it up for a discussion, and we can move quickly on this stuff. We have meetings every 2 weeks, and so if you say, hey, we've got this opportunity, then let's discuss it again. But I don't I don't think the concerns expressed tonight are meant to be stonewalling anything. We just want to make sure that every element of this is done in a proper way.
All right, thank you.
So I think that covers it, unless there's any further questions or comments.
No, thank you.
Thanks.
All right.
Okay. I think next up we're on to the town administrator report.
Certainly. All right. I will move to share. Short overview. This is mainly highlighting for the folks watching at home that there are upcoming information sessions regarding those postcards or letters that you've received with the Town of Bolton seal. I've had a few email questions and a few phone questions, but I understand that other select board members are being besieged by questions. The website for the vendor, colonialpower.com, has also a listing specific to the Town of Bolton, but hope people can make an info session. On the roundabout project, the expectation from the contractor, Amarillo, is that there would be no physical construction work happening in calendar 24. I've also relayed this to the school district. We're just awaiting the contractor completing their paperwork, and then there will be finally a pre-con meeting, likely closer to actual groundbreaking. The Amazing Derby Field project, still seeking applicants for this temporary position. Please ask your friends and neighbors. It's total of 40 hours, and it would be running from basically now through November of 2025. We're awaiting one additional item down from 2 before the issuance of the building permit for 580 Main. And for the Main Street Culvert project, which is also appearing further on the agenda, and that would be the project that will be basically from near the Houghton building, slightly past the town hall towards the Bolton Bean. Green International, our contractor, submitted their requisite eligibility documents. What we'll be having on our agenda later is just the board's acknowledgement that we're going to be placed on the tip. It's the first step in a very long process. Residents who live near the landfill will be getting a mailing from Northeast Geoscience saying they can opt in for testing of additional components of their private well water. Those components are PFAS, which folks may have heard of. It encompasses a class of, I want to say, 6 different chemicals. Homeowners can do this. Also be aware that there isn't really a liability or a shared liability on the municipal side. So think twice. It's free testing, but then you have the results and you know something that may need to be remediated. On the staffing side, there have been 2 conditional officers for full-time police officers and 3 conditional officers for part-time, as well as a candidate who had completed the sergeant exam today. Wanted to give a shout out to Chief Hamburger, as he has been engaged in an incredible Herculean recruitment effort. And on other staff, kudos to our poll workers, without whom we would be sunk, as well as the town clerk's office. As of midday today, there are 1,191 ballots received. 227 of those are in person. There's going to be another week of in-person early voting starting on Saturday. Please show up, cast your ballot, avoid the crush at the polls. Budget packets are out, and I am indebted to the town hall staff who patiently assisted me in this process. And I've also created an all-encompassing as-is capital plan, awaiting though any capital plan requests from our boards, commissions, committees, and departments. As folks are aware, there had been an auction at the town hall. Perhaps you've seen the flyers. Great news, all 7 parcels sold.
Wow.
And kudos to Michelle Carlisle, who formerly merely the collector, now both appointed as collector and treasurer. The net proceeds from the sales, and there's some machinations regarding some monies have to be paid off to X, other monies have to be paid off to Y. But our accountant Ninotchka has conveyed that the net proceeds would be in the general fund revenue. That'd be reflected in our free cash for this fiscal year. And not this spring, but the following spring, that would be available for appropriation. Wanted to give the board a heads up, as well as folks at home, that Healy's Municipal Empowerment Act still awaiting some legislative action. There are 3 components, and I'm not sure if the board had discussed before, that would allow municipalities to increase non-property tax revenue. Each of them has concerns, though, in effect, that one could be cannibalizing the same subset of individuals who, for the motor vehicle excise, you're taxing your same taxpayers just a little more in a different way. As of right now, though, it's still stuck in the legislature. This also has implications, zanily enough, since we're meeting on Zoom. Multiple boards and committees and multiple towns have sent out things saying, please just codify the remote meeting parameters, and yet there's strangely been no action. There's no action likewise, though, on the bill allowing DCAM to offer for purchase the parcel of land on the Bolton-Lancaster border. And as a heads up, we are very dependent on Chapter 90, that formula that determines how much money we get from the state. Every year, there's interest in changing that formula. As a community that has a lot of through traffic, we are in effect penalized. We have employment, but we have more through traffic than employment. I will wait and see on the formula. Ominously, though, there is some discussion about restricting Chapter 90 use for equipment purchases and using it solely for roads. And just wanted to give the board an update that I had met with the school central office staff, as well as Denise Tombosky from Stowe. We went through their budget timetable, the preliminary enrollment counts, which will drive our assessment, as well as our debt purchase for the high school, and any implications. Our next meeting is in mid-November. And that's it.
Great, thank you. Questions from the board before we move into select board business?
Nope, I'm good.
Great, thank you. Okay, so actually, just a quick question. I know that we have executive sessions at 8 and 8:30. Are either of those things that we need to move into exactly at 8 that we should be mindful of as we head into the next slate of items?
Not for 8, for 8:30, yes.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, select board business, any public service announcements?
Not tonight.
Nope.
Just remember to vote. How could
Early
you?
enough.
Go ahead,
I
Jen.
actually had one for Code Red. It's just a good time of year for people to visit the link on our website to join Code Red if they haven't already. lots of people are new to town and may not know that that's a possibility. It's not used very often, but it is a great resource if the town needs to get emergency notifications out to the public.
That's a great reminder. Thank you. Okay, future agenda items discussion.
Yes, I think it would be beneficial if we invited our school committee reps into our meeting, or perhaps a joint meeting with advisory if Marie has not presented what she presented to us a meeting or so ago in terms of preliminary outlook for Bolton's FY26 budget. I think would be good for our reps to hear and understand the position that the town is probably going to be in moving forward as we go into the budget season.
Okay. Anything from you, Kate?
No, but I agree with Stan. The sooner the better, probably.
Yeah.
So I will just voice a question about the approach to this, right? So we have the meeting last time where the information was shared. We could send the link to that meeting to the school committee members. That to me is different than saying we are requesting that they come to a meeting where we are going to be asking them questions. So I think we need to be clear, is this a, hey, this information was shared, you should know, or is it a, we're calling you because we want to ask questions, in which case I have some thoughts about whether that's the best approach at this point.
I think as we get closer, I think there are probably some questions we might want to pose to our reps and some information that we might want to share with them. I shared some things with Marie this afternoon, and I think it'd be good to share that with our school committee reps before the budget season really starts in earnest.
Okay, so you're thinking sometime before the new year, if possible.
Yes, certainly before January. Yep.
Got it.
Yep.
Okay, that makes sense to me. Then we are going to execute project eligibility notification for Mass DOT. Marie, do you want to just tee this up?
Certainly. As mentioned before, this is the Main Street Culvert project. Green International is our consultant. And interestingly enough, the president of Green International is also a Bolton resident. He's highly invested in this going smoothly. The state is paying through monies received the $400,000 of the design fee. We've been placed on the TIP, Transportation Improvement Plan. It is the first step in a very long road, no pun intended, but it will be likely, 5 to 7 years from now. At that time, our preliminary estimate is that this is somewhere between $5 and $7 million. There will be likely more scrambling for how we're going to husband our resources to meet the 10% share. But this is step one, or actually step two, in this process.
Well, Marie, if this is going to be a TIP project, my understanding, at least for other TIP things that we've talked about in the past, that we have to do some upfront engineering work.
That is through what's happening with Green International right now, and that is what's being funded through a state.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they've submitted their paperwork. They are seeking, the town DOT is seeking the municipality's acknowledgement that we are moving forward in this process.
Right. And also people should know that there's not necessarily any guarantee that
That is true.
that will actually get anything awarded. So. Okay.
So there's that acknowledgement page that requires a signature, and I guess just for purposes of the motion, Marie, should we be in the motion? Should we be like deputizing you to be the signatory? Should it be me?
It's at the preference of the board. They just want a public acknowledgement that the board is aware we have moved forward. Yeah.
So, I guess then I would entertain a motion to, acknowledge project eligibility notification and to authorize our town administrator to sign on behalf of the town of Bolton.
So moved.
Second,
A roll call, Stan.
yes,
Yes.
I'm also a yes. Great, and then we have approval of bills slash payroll warrants W25-8 and W25-8A.
I'll make a motion to approve warrants W25-8 and W25-8A.
I'll second that.
Okay, roll call, Stan.
Yes,
Yes.
I'm also a yes. And then we have, Jenny has previously circulated minutes, regular session minutes for September 26th, 2024. And then, I guess actually an executive session is when we would do those. So for now, it's just the minutes of September 26th, 2024. There were no changes. Is that right, Jenny?
That's correct.
So is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So
so
moved.
moved. Sal second,
All right, roll call, Stan.
yes,
Kate,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. And I guess we will break for 3 minutes until the 8 o'clock executive session. Is there actually, given that, is there any reason we can't just go right into this one now?
We could.
Okay, yeah, so could I have a motion to exit public session and enter into executive session pursuant to MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A, for purpose 3 to conduct strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation with Teamsters Union Local Number 170 and Police Union Local 286, Massachusetts Coalition of Police, IUPA, AFL-CIO, as I have declared that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the town.
So moved.
second,
Okay, roll call, Stan,
yes,
Kate,
Yes.
and I'm also a yes.